Hello everyone and a big welcome to my YouTube channel. And if you are a care worker, if you are looking into relocating to the UK or a dependent and you've been following the UK immigration policies and everything that's been going on in this country, then this video is definitely for you. It's worth a watch because we're going to be talking about the immigration white paper policy that's going to be implemented this week. Some of you have been asking me what this white paper thing about. It's basically just an immigration policy, an immigration blueprint that they want to implement a few changes to the immigration policy altogether. But the focus and highlight of this video is basically about the care worker visa. And it has been under the spotlight for a few years now, obviously with a few changes that has been going on, trying to really to reduce the numbers. And I will be sharing in this video why they've been trying with all these interventions to reduce the numbers in the care sector with the care visa. So do stay tuned until the end of this video. So the care worker visa was introduced in February of 2022, right after Brexit and also in the aftermath of the COVID pandemic. Obviously, the country was struggling with the social industry. So they decided, well, I think if we introduce a visa that will attract labor to the UK, it will quickly solve our care labor shortages, of which I must say, because I came in the UK in July of 2022, it must have worked because from the numbers that I was seeing, about 100,000 visas were issued between February of 2022 and February of 2023. So it seemed it was a solution. But obviously, whenever something is implemented and it's done quickly, there are challenges. And obviously, some of you would wonder what were some of the challenges that have brought this visa into the spotlight. So some of the challenges, we've been talking about them, we continue to talk about them, was the fact that there are unscrupulous people that got on this wave of recruiting from overseas and were bringing in workers, but they didn't have the actual work, were conning people, and you name it. And I do remember I did a video, I will put it in the description so that you can watch it if you haven't watched it, where in trying really to address all these problems, it was being said that 39,000 people who had come to the country, overseas care workers, were out of jobs, partly because about 470 care companies or sponsors had their licenses revoked because they couldn't offer the work, they couldn't really abide with the immigration rules of the country. So those were some of the challenges that this visa has actually come about. But it's not just about the care worker visa. Also, there are other visas that have been bringing migrants to this country. And according to a report, by the end of 2023-2024, about 906,000 visas had been issued for people to come from abroad to the UK. Now that's a huge number. So they began to try and really cut down the numbers by implementing a few measures, which I'm going to talk about so that you see how far they've come implementing all these things to try and really bring down the numbers. And they managed in 2024, the numbers had come down from 906,000 to about 780,000. Now that's a big number, but is it enough for them to say, well, we have done enough? Some of the changes that they implemented was in spring of last year, April 2024, they went on to say if someone was coming from abroad on a care visa or on a senior care worker visa, they would not be allowed to bring dependents. Why? Because previously, when the visa started, somebody would be allowed to come with their dependents, which is spouse and children. No wonder why the number is 906,000 within a year. So they thought, well, if we stop these care workers from coming, we're only attracting people that will feed into the system, provide value to the system, and really stop the rest from coming and burdening the system. Somehow it did work. It seemed to be a solution because, again, they still needed the labor. They still had not managed to attract the local labor into the system. So, of course, it deterred a lot of people because when I look at everything, I'm a mom, I'm an immigrant, and when I was relocating, I basically relocated for my family, for my children. I wouldn't really have made the decision if I would not be able to bring my children. It would have been a very difficult decision for me to make. The same way, a lot of people that do reach out to me, the one question that they ask is, Can you share with me an opportunity where I can relocate and I'll be able to relocate with my family? And obviously, I do refer to them like other schemes where they can relocate with their families. I always point out opportunities in other countries where actually the immigration system favors families. But at the moment, the care worker visa for the UK, if you're on a code 6135, 6136, which is senior or a care worker visa, you are not allowed to bring your dependents, which means the worker, only the main applicant can relocate to the country, but their dependent spouse, be it children, cannot relocate to the UK. So that deterred a lot of people. And also this was implemented for students who are coming to study in the UK. You would not be allowed to bring dependents as they had been doing previously. But did this really work? Seems it hasn't worked. No wonder why, again, we are talking about this immigration white paper blueprint, this new policy that's been implemented this week to try and again bring down the numbers. However, there are again other things that were implemented along the way that I want to highlight here. They also stated the fact that visas were going to be, the immigration system was going to be based on salary threshold, which brought the minimum wage for someone to be able to sponsor someone from abroad would have to be around £38,000. If you are going to bring a spouse or to bring dependents to this country, you need to earn £38,000 per year. But obviously, this could not be applied to the care sector because, again, it's a case of funding. If you say someone has to earn £38,000 a year, and still the biggest funder of health and social care in this country is the government, are they willing to commit those sort of funds? Those figures were just too much for someone to. So for the care sector, they were spared that. But still, the numbers are not yet where they want them to be. And obviously, guys, with everything that has been happening in the country politically and everything, they still are talking immigration. And whenever they talk immigration, obviously, as the care sector, as carers who came from abroad, we are not spared. As a platform that continues to talk about immigration, that continues to talk about relocation, and I'm passionate about it because I know it's an opportunity that is giving a lifeline to people. So I love to share information as and when I come across it, and also bring in my thoughts. No wonder why I've been working on this video. So, of course, these anxious times for everybody, for those that have been preparing to relocate to the UK, for those that have been applying, we've been urging and encouraging people to apply. We're all anxious to find out what's going to happen with this immigration white paper blueprint. And I know just last month in April, they implemented again another policy which stopped organizations from employing abroad. They said if you are in need of carers, you need to employ those carers that are already in the country. And unless if you needed to recruit from abroad, you need to come up with really strong reasons. You need to give them compelling reasons to say, well, I've been advertising, but I cannot attract labor locally. So that's why I need to employ from abroad. So that was just last month. And again this month and this coming week that we are in. By the time this video will air, we would probably be knowing what's in the blueprint, and I will share with you. No wonder why, if you've watched this far and you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so, because we're going to keep the conversation going, and we are all at the edge of our chairs wanting to know what's going to happen, what are also some of the proposals that they're going to bring about in this white paper blueprint. But I'm going to share with you some of the projections. Well, obviously, whenever something is said to, well, next week we're going to implement this, people really say out what they think is going to be in that blueprint. So I'm going to share with you just shortly what are some of those things that they want to implement. But when will this end? Because in April we thought, well, this is the end. But then again, the care worker visa was spared. I'm going to share with you again at the end of the video why I think this visa is not about to go just yet. So obviously, as part and parcel of the projections for this immigration white paper policy or white paper blueprint, some of the projections that are thought to be in the blueprint are the fact that obviously they're going to place restrictions on some of the most common countries where people really come to the country and then they go on to apply for asylum and things like that, they default from the main reason why they would have got to the country in the first place. And obviously, certain countries have been mentioned, obviously, in the build-up to this immigration blueprint. Some of these countries that have been named are Pakistan, Nigeria, and Sri Lanka. So whether or not it's going to be implemented, we can only wait because nobody knows. But this is just a proposal at the minute to say, well, these countries really do bring in so many people. And then, obviously, through research, through studying trends and everything, they've targeted these 3 countries to say, well, we're going to put some visa restrictions for these countries in particular. Obviously, the other thing, they've been talking about wanting to reduce these numbers by 50,000. So whatever that they're going to do, of course, they already have got a number in their head to say, we have to bring them down ASAP by about 50,000. But whether or not that would work, I don't know. Also, part and parcel of the proposal that have been coming up is the fact that obviously if you're to come to this country, you have to be a very fluent and good English speaker. So they're going to put a higher score of English will be required if one is to relocate to this country. And I know when we came on a care worker visa, the score that they needed was just a minimum 4. This is just basic English. They didn't care whether you speak it or whether you're fluent or what. But looks like they are pointing in that direction where they want you to be able to speak the language. They want you to be able to be fluent in the language for you to be able to really integrate and feel as you're a part and parcel of the society that you live in. Part and parcel of the proposals as well is to do with indefinite leave to remain, citizenship, and things like that. So at the moment, if one has lived in this country for 5 years, they are eligible to apply for indefinite leave to remain. So part and parcel of the proposals are that somebody has to live in the country for about 10 years, and then after 10 years, they are eligible to apply for the indefinite leave to remain. Whether or not that's viable, we don't know. Whether or not that will be the solution, we also don't know. Part and parcel again is on cracking down on really visa restrictions. The criteria that they use when they're issuing visas, they want that to be even tighter, and we don't know whether or not it will work. But before I end this video, I want to give you my thoughts as far as this whole thing is concerned. Obviously, I've been reading, I've been researching, and I look and see what's on the ground. When I look and see what's on the ground, really, this health and care worker visa has been a big relief. It has done what it's supposed to do. It has managed actually to, stabilize the industry. Of course, there are still labor shortages. And with this crackdown and with this visa restrictions coming up, I think it's going to even put a more strain on the healthcare system, social care system, because labor is a big thing in this industry. So it's a give and take situation. Something has got to give, or they have to reach a compromise to say, well, we are going to put restrictions, but we're not going to totally take away the visa. It has survived so many changes, so many rules. Whether or not it will survive this immigration white paper blueprint, I don't know, but I can only hope. And as you know, I love opportunities. I love to share about opportunities. And I do have my fingers crossed that at least it's spared, because we need our people to really come and work and fend for their families. That's just my take. If you've got other thoughts, if you've got questions, put them in the comments and let's keep the conversation going. And I do hope to come back to you when the actual immigration white paper comes into play, and I'll share with you, and we can talk about it, we can discuss, we can digress and give our thoughts in the comments together. I do appreciate you. Those that have been subscribing, we are growing. Let's keep subscribing, keep sharing our content. We do appreciate. And also, if you've got other topics that you want us to discuss, things you want us to share in our videos, just put them in the comments and we will gladly reach out to you. And again, before I end this video, if you're in the UK and you're watching these videos and you've been wanting to get into the NHS, wanting to get into the council, we've got a whole playlist. I will put the link in the description for that playlist so that you can have a look at it and see what are some of the opportunities that are going, and then you can actually get yourself on the bandwagon for career progression. That's all I had for you today, and I'll see you in our next video. That's bye for me from now. Bye.